There are really bad actors inside our borders that aren't illegal, but they are on college campuses. They are organized. They are promoted in some cases by CNN, and they are quite literally targeting our ICE officers, people that are out there trying to round these folks up and bust up these drug rings and these human trafficking rings and these illegal farming rings and all of this stuff. Professor Nicholas Giordano is a professor of political science at Suffolk Community College in New York. He's also part of Campus Reform, and there's a piece out there at Campus Reform headlined, "Ex-NYU Prof's Website Exposes ICE Agents with Facial Recognition as Assaults on Officers Surge 700%. These ICE guys, you know, they're covering their faces out there now, Professor, and I welcome you in this morning, and people say, why do they have their faces covered? Well, because of the good professor at NYU, for starters. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. And it's completely ridiculous that you'd have a professor on a college campus, well, next professor at NYU, that would be showing the faces of ICE using facial recognition for the sole intent to dox them. That's what this is about. They want to shame, humiliate a law enforcement agency that is carrying out the executive functions that Congress passed. I mean, these are laws that Congress passed. It's completely ridiculous.
Is this criminal in your view, or no? When you create an app to target, identify law enforcement or federal law enforcement, do you think there's anything criminal about it, or it's just gross, for want of a better term?
It's just gross. I mean, it would be a very difficult case to prove criminal intent unless he's overtly threatening the ICE agents himself. So it's just gross. It shouldn't be happening. It should be condemned. However, he's just one of the many. I mean, listen, there are a lot of great professors in academia, but there are far too many professors that push ideology and activism over actual education. At Campus Reform, we just put out another story regarding a University of Chicago professor who labeled her own institution an evil colonial landlord and stated that her goal as a professor was to build Palestinian solidarity. Now, I don't know about her, how it's an American institution, should be promoting American values. But when you have professors on college campuses that want to push ideology and indoctrination, well, think about the chilling effect that has. I mean, would any student really challenge this professor in a classroom knowing that she's a fervent Palestinian supporter, Hamas supporter? And the second that you challenge her, it may impact your grades. You may see a grade suffer. You may be ostracized, embarrassed. This is unacceptable. It should not be taking place on college campuses. But for far too long, it's been tolerated. And I don't see why, because this has had a disastrous impact. I mean, 30% of generation Gen Z, 30% sympathize with Osama bin Laden. They believe that Osama bin Laden was a force for good in the world. And it shows you the warped thinking. And where does that stem from? It stems from a broken education system where ideologues have taken over.
We're talking to Professor Nicholas Giordano. He's with Campus Reform. He's also a professor of political science at Suffolk Community College in New York. This kind of virulent anti-Semitism that's been bubbling up on college campuses, certainly led by professors, we understand that. But why, this is more of a philosophical question perhaps, why does it feel like, maybe it's not a reality, but it feels like young Americans are gravitating more and more to being sympathetic to Islamists, Professor? I've been trying to get my head around it. Is it as simple as indoctrination, or is there something more? And by the way, I'd be dishonest if I didn't say it feels like there are some on the, quote, conservative side, or in my tent, that seem to be tilting that way a little bit too. Is that your read?
It is. I mean, listen, we've seen anti-Semitic incidents increase by 433% since the October 7th attacks on college campuses. We've seen a surge in anti-Americanism. And I think you're hitting on something. And I try and wrap my head around it as well, because there's a mutual contradiction, right? There can't be a better contradiction than Queers for Palestine. I don't see how that even works. So you have these students that have this progressive ideology, and yet they're supporting Islamists, which is a hardcore Salafi sect, Wahhabi sect of Islam that despises everything progressives stand for. So it's bizarre, but I think it shows the lack of critical thinking amongst our youth, that our youth are not trained to think critically about the issues. And because they're told that they're privileged, that they live in the United States, I mean, let's face it, let's be honest here. They hit the lottery being in the United States. They're shielded from a lot of horrors that go on around the world. And so I think that they don't necessarily have a sense of purpose. They feel they don't. We see that in the mental health numbers. And so they just grab onto any issue that they feel is going to make them a virtue signal, a moral holy warrior for the 21st century. So I think they grasp these issues to fill a void in their own lives.
Boy, that's really smart. Not feeling like you have much of a purpose or a focus or a mission. Overall, and I know this is your living, so I don't mean to strike right at the heart of it, but I am curious. I hear from many college campuses around the country that enrollment on physical college campuses anyway is down pretty dramatically. Do you guys hear that at Campus Reform too, that people seem to be kind of turning their back on that traditional collegiate experience?
There's no doubt that some are. I mean, let's face it, COVID had a massive impact, and also when it was exposed what students are learning, well, people began to question the worth and value of a four-year degree. Now, it ranges from college to college whether enrollment's increasing or decreasing. But overall, 50% of employers within the last year have done away with four-year degree requirements. A lot of students no longer see the cost versus benefit analysis when it comes to four-year degree programs. You are seeing a little bit of an enrollment surge in community colleges. Obviously, the Ivy Leagues, for the most part, are fine. But we're also facing an enrollment demographic cliff. As American society ages, as students are aging, we don't have enough students to fill seats. And so a lot of universities are looking overseas to get foreign students into those seats, which opens up a whole nother can of worms. But colleges, a lot of them did this to themselves. I mean, there is a reckoning in higher education that I warned about 5 years ago, and that reckoning is now here. Because they pushed ideology over education, they've devalued their own institutions. They've devalued their own degree programs, and we're seeing the result of that. So if they want to earn back the trust and the public confidence, they have to get back to intellectual growth, critical thinking, teaching students how to solve problems, not indoctrinate them with far-left ideological causes.
Professor Nicholas Giordano, great stuff at Campus Reform. A couple of different pieces, and one of them you can go to @PAS Report, by the way, if you want to read more, and campusreform.org to read some of the work that Professor Giordano has written there. Appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for kicking off the week with us, sir. Hope you'll come back.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
The Chris Stigall Show podcast.